we've got to rediscover what it means to truly be a man. Is being a man picking up barrels of hay and putting it down and, using our strength and is that being a man? Or is being a man shown in the weakness of Jesus Christ, who, if he wanted to flex, he could have flexed. So, all right, we left off last week with the big question, do we idolize marriage? And so we had a great conversation, and we kind of stopped the conversation right in the middle because, we'd reach our allotted time. And so this week, we're going to pick up the conversation. Where we left last week was we were talking about at the altar, like the symbolic meaning of what happens when the two parties come together at your favorite wedding. And I just went to a wedding last weekend, and I was reminded all over again the whole symbolism of it. So that's where we're going to start, at the altar. And then your questions, whatever your questions may be, man, you can put those in the comments. We'll get them. We'll ask them. If we don't get your question, let's say you watch this on the replay, we're going to be watching the replay. We'll see the questions and comments, and we'll bring them up for our next Sunday conversation. So for those of you who might just be tuning in, these conversations are conversations that we would have if we were in the foyer of your, local church building. And because of, COVID restrictions, we're trying to continue to cultivate that community. So like, people talk about this stuff. So we want to talk about it. After we do that, we're going to quickly kind of transition. We'll pray, and we'll have today's message for today. All right. So let's go at the altar. All right. So you were asking something at that point.
How do we know if we made the right decisions up until that point? The person that we decide to go down that aisle with, to know that they are in tune with the idea of a Christian marriage. How do we get to that point?
Oh man, it's that. So I think both parties. Okay, we're assuming, because people make marriages work and they ain't Christian.
Right.
Now,
yeah.
Various ways they do it, various means they do it. But I guess assuming that, man, we're walking with Jesus and we're trying to sing out. So I think, first of all, both parties have to have their own relationship with Christ, their own relationship with the Master, and to understand what that relationship means for them.
Right.
Like, and to come to a understanding of who they are in Christ. Because I think then when the questions you start asking, or at least, I've been trying to ask and trying to answer in my own situation, is, since Jesus is serving me, since I feel secure in him, or since I can find security in him, because I think just like anybody else, some days I'm there, some days I'm not. Mm-hmm. But since I can find security in him, since he's my all and every, and I'm drinking from a place that can never really be, an everlasting spring, how can I then serve the other person? So, because oftentimes we get into it, and I mean, we all of us, including myself, man, how is this going to benefit me, my situation, my legacy?
Right.
So, I mean, I think you got to start there. Like, what is my relationship with Jesus, and how am I cultivating that? And I don't want to just say that happens by yourself, because sometimes, man, you need people to help you. But ultimately, you got to have your own foundation. I think it's beneficial to have your own foundation.
So, as the one thing that I can understand, that I understand changes, is the person. Like, every, 7 years, you're supposed to have a new layer of skin and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So as people change, and then that word submission comes up, how do you deal with that on both ends?
Ooh, that's a good question. So go ahead.
I at least think that that's part of the reason why we have a lot of the issues that we do have is trying to figure out that dynamic between the two. Who's the head? Who's following? Who's leading? How do you lead without being a dominator or a dictator? And how do you? And I guess the most important one is how do you trust the other person to lead? How do you figure out that you can trust the other person to lead?
Man, okay. This is like three questions in one.
All right, today.
All right, no, I see. All right, so let's the first thing I think that you asked was people, well, one, I think we've got to square with the fact that people change and evolve as time goes on. I think that's why the covenant of marriage is in place, because it's not conditioned upon whether you are a different person or not, or whether I change, which I'm going to change.
Right.
It's conditioned based upon the promises I made to you. Right. Well, remember again, it's helping us to see with a very visual, vivid representation. Every time the person changes and you're still with them, you're like, dang, that's the Lord. That's how the Lord sees me. That's how he loves me.
Yeah.
As I am changing. And sometimes, not always for the best, and I don't always like the same things I liked 10 years ago, but the Lord never leaves me, nor does he forsake me. And so he's teaching me about him in the context of the situation. Now, getting to your second question, and I think that one's a supercharged question. I think it's about submission and authority in marriage, right? So let me push this with a question.
Okay.
How many men do you know have a vision for their family's life?
I know at least one.
Okay.
And that would be me for sure.
Okay.
You.
Okay.
If excluding me, you.
Okay.
And then I know it's just, I guess that question is relative too, because it's like how far in advance, how far in the future are some of these guys planning? Because I know some people that maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, they know what's going on. Then I know for myself, I plan up until my deathbed.
Right. Well, insofar as you've got to, because because we often say she got to follow, right?
Right.
The woman's got to follow. But like, what vision is she following? Because it's like, because the way we think of it narrowly, like, I say X and you do X.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But you work for a corporation, right?
Yep.
And there's a CEO at the top.
Yep.
And you don't hear him in your ear saying, giving you 7 things to do and not do, right?
Right.
Yet you still follow what he's doing.
Right.
Because he's got a vision for the corporation. And as long as you're in line with the vision for the corporation, you're good. He ain't got to talk to you every other day.
Right.
And there's skills and talents and gifts that you have that he doesn't have. Mm-hmm. Probably has not, or if he had it, he ain't exercised them in 20, 25 years. The man probably I'm guessing, probably in his 50s or 60s. Yeah. So, and you out here grinding. Yeah. He's not where you at.
Yes.
Doesn't know all the new technologies and latest things. Yet he's still the leader. Why? Because he sets the vision for the household. So to me, when you think about like this conversation, it's, I don't know why, I always say, okay, well, before we ask her to submit, what is the vision that the Lord has given you in the house to submit? Adam had a vision given to him by God. I want you to work and keep this garden. Mm-hmm. And that garden happened to go on into, be the whole world. But that was the vision. And so then when he gave him, the husband, and pun intended, husband as the husband of a wife, but also the husbandry of a garden, right?
Oh, snap.
Okay, you called it. Okay,
okay. Layers. Okay.
Listen. Okay, right? So when you add those two together, and then you you then bring her in, she now knows that their job is to work and keep this garden. Now, she might not be the one out tilling the field, but in that agricultural sense, how are they going to get this task done? Well, they need children. They need order, they need structure, they need food, they need nourishment. So whether she's tilling the garden or whether she's, having the babies and structuring the home such that they can do this, right? That's submission.
But in 2021, everybody got a corporate job or everybody out working. And so how do we have structure in 2021 when both have the ability to take care of everything that needs to be taken care of in the household?
Well, okay, so that might have been Adam's vision, but what's your vision? What is, okay, here's the thing. It isn't that God isn't speaking to us or that God is still stuck in the garden.
Right.
It's that we haven't really heard or listened long enough to hear what his vision is for our life and our family's life.
Yeah.
So that in 2021, we're ready to do what he's calling us to do. And then when you say, okay, I want to bring somebody along, I need them to help me, because you think about even at your company, you got a CEO, COO. They both bossing.
Yeah.
Just one person is submitting their talents and abilities to make sure that this corporation is operating. And so I don't think that it diminishes either party. It's just that one party has to be able to say, this is what the vision is. And so you now give this other person opportunity to say, I'm with it or I'm not with it.
I have a hot take.
Okay, go ahead.
This might get a little spicy.
Come on.
Do you think that it's the men's fault that there's even a question now? That men aren't on their purpose strong enough that it is causing all the question, even with the women's entrance into the workforce and masses and being able to take care of everything on their own. Now this marriage situation where you're having two people of equal stature coming together and trying to find where the separation of powers is. Do you think that men just aren't on their purpose enough like they used to be? Well, they had to in the past, but now it doesn't seem like it's as needed for them to be on there.
Well, I think there's many forces at play.
Okay.
One of them is the forces of capitalism, and
right.
Like we feel like we all come into this thing feeling like the goal is for us to make a lot of money, and acquire a lot of things,
right? Which
we don't have to farm to do that anymore. We can go get training, and then we can those roles that previously existed in society, right, don't exist anymore. And so I think we don't have theological vision. Like, okay, Adam's main role, if you look at it, was to subdue the world, to spread the glory of God. But the forces of capitalism are really there to push us to say we're there to spread the glory of greed. Okay, right? Okay. So like if I start to examine, okay, what am I really about?
Yeah.
And then she's over here doing the same thing. You like both of y'all are out of line because it's like, and then it is just like it was on Adam to. He was charged with the responsibility of carrying the vision that God gave him forward. It is, I think, on us to sit and grow with the theological vision of, man, what is it that God has called me to do with my household? And I'll give you an example.
Cool.
Who's a good one? Man, I hate using historical figures. But man, let's use I'm going to use somebody I know, but I don't want to name their name. Okay. All right. So I know some folk that know this one guy, and he was a mentor of mine. Actually, I'd call his name because it's his thing. He lives in Austin. His name is Jeffrey Richard. And I remember him talking to me. And Jeffrey Richard happens to have been a former law partner in Austin. He started working for the Chamber of Commerce. Dude's been everywhere. Dude's done a crazy amount of stuff. And one of the things he told me, he said to me, man, you need to understand that you are, that I want you to know that he was talking about him, I am a minister to the marketplace. So, we looking at everything he's doing, right? Oh man, First thing he hit me with, and I don't think it was like, he was very proud of it. He was like, dude could play the organ, play a mean organ. Was it the organ? I think it was the organ or the piano, one of the two.
Okay.
Cold.
Yeah.
Could, preach, to people. That's exactly what he thought. But he felt like God's calling on his life, just as big as my calling on my life and your calling on yours, was to be a minister to the marketplace. And so he has a vision for how he's going to glorify God with his skills and talents. Now, when you put somebody right next to him, she understands what a man's trying to do, or what the Lord has put on a man to try to do. And she could either say, I'm with it or not with it. Many of us don't think that far. We just like, okay, well, I'm making the money. You ain't making the money. It's like, nah, we not here to make money, or allow money to make us. Let me say that, because that's really what's happening. Money is making us.
Yeah.
Because, we're here to make the money. We're never here for the money to make us.
Right. Oh, wow. That's pretty good. So now we got to get to the point where we're preaching and teaching, looking at Christianity like that, and then look at marriage like that, in order to be at a good place. Because now I think it's
because it becomes a ministry,
right,
at the end of the day.
Right.
Your main ministry. If that's, everyone isn't called to it, but if God has called you to do that, then he's calling you to ministry.
You think that's possible for the world to get to that place where we're thinking like that, or are we just kind of like going to be anecdotal to the people that we are? Hopefully it spreads. What do you think?
I think that, man, it's funny to say that. I think that one, I think that's part of us sharing the gospel, right? Yeah. It's like, all right, so you like cars,
yep.
I like cars,
yep.
And someone else might like houses, somebody else might like, phones. We all have our different interests. I think it's the same way with some of the themes of the Bible. The themes of marriage resonate with a lot of people. Not everybody, maybe not even most, but a lot of people. But I think just like the message of the gospel can be preached, the life, death, burial, and resurrection can be preached from anywhere in the text. You can use any theme of the Bible to help people to see that. Yeah. So I think one of our challenges is, how do we take marriage and help people to see the good news of Jesus in their own situation, such that now, instead of me fighting with them to say, you idolizing it, you ain't doing it right, you need to be doing it this way, I'm like, okay, how's it been going? Okay, do you know what the purpose of marriage is? And then, well, well, the marriage supper of the Lamb that he talks about in Revelation 21-22 is really the destination. That marriage is a journey, is a purpose, it's a sign pointing to something bigger. And you know what that bigger is? And so now I'm opening up a conversation, a dialogue about, man, do you feel like you are engaged to the lover of your soul? Do you feel loved, respected, and admired, and in covenant with your husband? You feel what I'm saying? They become alley-oops. Instead of me fighting the culture every time, I can use the culture as an alley-oop.
Yeah.
They throw the ball up, and then you want to throw another ball up to kind of hit that ball out the air. That's kind of what we do with these culture wars. Instead of like, nah, they threw a ball up. The goal is to dunk it. They've missed the mark, but you got enough ups to catch it and dunk it.
Yeah.
So that's what we're supposed to be doing with this thing.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Man, where are we? We 15 in, 20 in?
That is a good question.
We trying to figure out how much. Oh, we 20 in. So y'all, if y'all got questions, y'all can definitely put those up there, out there. If not, we got 10 more minutes, and so we're gonna continue this this dialogue. I hope this was good for you, those of you who are listening. And yeah, okay. So now I'm gonna put to you a question. What do you think? So do you think that men or Christian men see the breakdown of marriage as our responsibility, or do you think that we see, we think we share equal blame? I don't know. I just want to know what you think.
I actually don't think that we see it right now. I think that we are, from what I've seen on social media, and I know it could be misleading. Social media could be misleading, but from what I've seen in the questions and the comments that I've been seeing all over the place, it seems like there is a lack of understanding why we're in the place that we're at right now. I think we're fighting and pointing fingers at each other.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think now that I think that it's the men's responsibility now to start back finding that purpose. Because, back in the day, I think we didn't have a lot of these issues. One, because of the economy, the invisible hand of the economy. We didn't have that. But men were charged to lead the household, whether they wanted to or not, because they were the ones that had to go to work.
That was the situation. Yeah.
And now that both men and women are able to bring home the bacon, I think the men now have to find somewhere to take charge instead of fighting. It's like we're asking women to let us lead, but then asking them, where do you want to go at the same time?
Hey, yo, that's a quotable. Say that one more time.
We're asking women to let us lead, but also asking them to where we should go at the same time.
Yeah, that's quotable. Like, that's because I think that's kind of the situation that we're in. The culture has shifted.
Yeah.
But the gospel has remained the same. Right? And it's like, rather than beat people down because the culture shifted and changed, we've got to rediscover what it means to truly be a man. Mm-hmm. Is being a man picking up barrels of hay and putting it down and, using our strength and is that being a man? Or is being a man shown in the weakness of Jesus Christ, who, if he wanted to flex, he could have flexed. Yeah. Well, when you think about it, just for the standpoint, I would have. I already know my temperament.
Me too.
If you blasted me and I got the ability to blast back, I'm blasting back. Then I'm asking questions later.
And that's exactly why I don't have a gun, because I know my temperament. If I have a gun, I'm going to use it, and I don't want to be in that situation.
Yeah, that's crazy. So this guy had legions of angels at his disposal. Legions.
Yeah.
And these guys, relatively with meager resources, are going at him. And he's just like, so he redefined what strength is.
Yeah.
Meekness is strength.
Yeah.
He because in being able to take the brutality of the Roman conquerors and then the wrath of God on top of him,
oh man,
he was able to have a larger impact than if he had he just lied. Because you kill the people, well, they're dead. You don't change history killing folk. Anyway, that's
that's crazy.
You don't change history killing folk.
Yeah. And that's what we as humans been trying to do for centuries is just killing folks to try to change history. Wow.
Revolutions, we fight bloody revolutions, but man, King and them were on to something. Revolutions that last are fought through love. But man, that's another that's another thought process. And so then, what does it mean for me and you to rediscover what it means to be a man? If the ideal man is Jesus Christ, and no, we not finna hop up on the cross and die. That was unique and that's distinct, and that's what changed history.
Yeah.
But the echoes, what are the echoes of that? Are we going to, in our little worlds, get up on our crosses and die on behalf of the people we love? And that's something, honestly, that I struggle with, because I understand what Calvary means, and I think I'd rather take a bullet sometimes. Because Calvary doesn't just mean sacrifice on behalf of others. When you look at Calvary, it also means, shame. Because the boys weren't just trying to kill him, they were trying to humiliate him. In fact, he probably would rather have died with honor than to have died with shame in that society. And so, at the very point where men feel their pride,
there it is.
So it's not just that I'm weak, but that I'm shamed, I'm humiliated, I'm pushed down. That's okay. You watch some samurai movies, right?
Yeah.
And they be like, rather than me go out here and dishonor whatever, I'd rather, cut my guts out and put them out on the thing. And that's the type of society Jesus came from, an honor-shame society. So the worst possible thing that could have happened to him was the humiliating death that he exhibited right there on the cross. And that's part of the message I'm going to talk about today.
Man, we got to get it together. But I say that, but don't know what. For the married man, only advice I can give the married man is just make sure everything work in the house. And so when she needs it, she ain't got to ask you if it's broken or fixed.
Yeah.
And you create an environment for her to be able to do her thing.
Yeah. I also think that we can't do this by ourselves. Like, it's funny. We're having this conversation, right? And we're both coming to some realizations in our own life, right?
Yeah, men got to talk to each other.
We got to talk, which is because, you would show strength if you did it by yourself.
Right.
But Jesus showed his strength through his weakness.
Yeah.
So rather than say, I got to do it myself, sometimes, man, you realize this can't be done by yourself. It's got to be done in community. And we both come to the realizations for things. Your situation may be different than mine, and it is, I think, in this case. But I think that we come to some type of realization in both our souls when you had the conversations. And I think men just need to talk.
Yeah, definitely. I know my homeboys. I think I have a few that I can kick it with and talk to about the personal situations. And to be honest with you, a lot of the personal situations, at least for my friends and me, it feels when you're talking about it like you're complaining and feeling like complaining and talking somebody's ears off and stuff like that doesn't feel good. But man, it's a lot better having two eyes on the situation than just your own pair of eyes. So even if you are annoying your friends or sound like a weak person, getting their opinion on stuff can help fix your mind frame on things. Especially like with me, whatever I learned from P, I go back and I teach. I not necessarily teach, but I talk to my friends about it. Put it on their head.
Yeah,
I'd rather put the little mustard seed on your head and let it grow in your own mind and spirit.
What's funny about what you said is whatever I learned from you. So like today, it's crazy. I've talked it out and I know it's the Lord.
Yeah.
And it's like, huh. It's like, huh. Wow. That's interesting, God. I mean, for real.
Yeah.
And so, iron sharpens iron, man.
Very much so.
And I think, man, it's okay if we don't know everything.
Right.
But I do think that through the Holy Spirit, dealing with each of us in our separate, lives, but then coming together and having these conversations, we can get to some resolutions or something. We ain't gonna solve world hunger, but we can at least think through what it means for us. We can come up with a vision for our household.
Yeah.
Talking with different guys. Yeah. In fact, some of what I probably have told you in the past came from my conversation with the guy I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Because he made me think about it broadly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, okay. And then Adam, yeah, he's a preacher, but he's like his ministry is to the world. Like it's not to like him, his phone no more.
Right.
But anyway, neither here nor there. All right, y'all. We at 30.